Hi, Jason here at jazzpianoclub.com. We're about to do a really cool lesson on drop 2 voicings, and there's a PDF that would be really useful to grab. You can get it completely free by subscribing to the website. You can find that on the homepage jazzpianoclub.com, and then once you've done that, come back and you can pick up this lesson, because this is a transcription of an amazing piano player, Wynton Kelly, and it's all about how you use drop 2 voicings to accompany, and there's also an MP3 for you to practice along to this as well. But I'll explain all of that in the lesson, so let's get to it. So don't panic, I'm looking at an original copy I had of this incredible transcription, this drop 2 accompaniment as played by, I believe, Wynton Kelly. I've tweaked and made a few changes, and more importantly, there we go. It's up to date as a nice, well, it was Sibelius, converted into a PDF. And I'm sure you've noticed this is all to accompany the well-known standard, just 1 through 32 bars of There Will Never Be Another You in the original key of E flat. What is really useful about this standard is the great range of chord progressions contained within it. One of the most useful pieces of paper I ever had when I was at college. I'm just going to play it for you so you can see how amazing it sounds. So I've done a little backing track. I've just put a bass line down, some basic drums. I've just chosen a vibraphone sound for the melody, just to keep it really clear. And I'm going to play this just to get going as written. Here we go. 2-bar introduction. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. It does sound really great, those drop 2 voicings fitting in the middle with the bass line down here and the melody up here. And we're going to just talk about some of the ways of looking at this and playing it. Just to be clear then, a drop 2 voicing here, the very first one, let's have a look at that, E flat. I've got E flat major sign here. To me, E flat, the triangle, means anything major. It could be a 6/9, it could be a 6. So drop 2 comes from a more closed chord. So this bottom note, initially, maybe thinking of it as an E flat here, or something like this. You know, the classic notes of a E flat major voicing with the 6th, the 9th, the 3rd, and the 5th. So whichever 4-note chord you've got, you take the 2nd from the top down an octave. So this is where it comes from. I think actually playing it like this is a nice way of then being able to sketch in a route if you want to in the future. So if I've got a bass player, as I did, playing along to that backing track, so with the route, so I could sketch that in. So from here, I could stretch down there if I can, but no worries if not. So when I get to the next D half diminished, could do the route there for the G. So the nice way of these drop 2s and practicing them is that you can actually add in the bass. I think it's a nice open sound. It's kind of, if you're into arranging or writing music, you would write kind of a horn part out like this. This open voicing sounds cool with, say, trombone, saxes in the middle, maybe trumpet at the top, in a way that if you wrote it for these instruments in a more closed position. Let's just take another one. Let's take, for example, A minor 7. Okay, so we've got the root, 3rd, nice and easy to see this one, 3rd, minor 3rd, 5th, 7th, 2nd note from the top here, and we get that. So it's just a different approach to playing. And then we can take this lead sheet and just kind of look through it, and if you want to analyze it, it's a great scale just to play the notes as is, but if you want to just kind of small chunk it down, you know, if you ever come across a major chord, then you've got a nice kind of starting point there. C6-9 in this position, then you can slide down to find it there. So you could go around the cycle or semitone, C, you know, and so on. So you've got some nice options there. If you want to get into it in a little bit more depth, then looking at the D minor half diminished, this is actually from melodic minor harmony. What's nice about this, and it gives it a slightly brighter sound, is it's mode 6, F minor melodic. Mode 6 gives you that natural 9 with this half diminished sound. I really like that. It gives you a real kind of little that sound there. When we get to the G plus, it's kind of altered. It's not quite the full story because I've actually got the 5th there. This actually comes from mode 3 of the harmonic. Major, that's major, so harmonic major. Starting on mode 3, 1, 2, 3, gives me this really useful scale, mode 3 of harmonic major, where I get a more useful and functional 5th in that dominant chord for G7. Okay, so I'm not really going to use this C sharp. It's not kind of, it makes it a little bit sort of floaty. This is a bit more of a kind of, you know, the dominant sound I want. At that point there. And you can see this nice rolling movement. The inner parts stay the same and the outer parts kind of roll. I really like the 2/5, that's a minor 2/5-1, and actually incidentally when we get to C minor, this is a minor 7, okay, and it's kind of a 4thy sound. So as I go from here to here, and again in these drop 2s, don't worry, you can, no problem to play the root. You know, this combination of notes gives me most of the notes, not counting the A, from Dorian. This is kind of a Dorian C minor. Because it's not a tonic 1, I'm not going 2/5 into the key of C minor. C minor here is functional to move me on to the next 2/5-1, and I really like this sound in a major key. Okay, that opening up. So chromatic opening up to here, technically at this point in bar 8, that's actually an E flat sus. It's not written there, you know, it will be, if I notated every single chord on here with a chord symbol, it would just kind of look like quite a few flies had landed on the music. So it's just a very basic interpretation of the chords, but can you see that this is a sus, then resolving down to the A flat. So something like this, if you could take the time, I might decide to, if I think that's a great 2/5-1 to do in A flat, could I take that down a semitone and do it, for example, in the key of G? So I'd start here, I'd open up to D sus, and then that kind of altered chord to get me to G, which will be there. Okay. Incidentally, the next chord, if we go back to the key we're in, that's the D flat 7 is a dominant chord, but here, this is more of the Lydian dominant, okay? I think when you're doing a 2/5-1, the dominant chord there wants to be kind of quite a strong altered sound to get you kind of to C minor. But here, this transitory D flat 7 chord, this actually comes from Lydian dominant. So mode 4 from A flat melodic minor. Okay, so it's the same set of notes. So you keep coming across very similar sets of notes. So the D flat dominant here, a much softer sound to the same shape in bar 4. That altered is more gritty. The roots change place here, but the interval there is a tritone, and the tritone interval here, D flat 7, G7. If this feels a little bit too much or confusing, I will do some lessons where we look at some of these chords a little bit more specifically. Moving on to bar 7 then, the E flat chord here, just a tonic chord, we're in E flat. So one of the starting chords at the beginning, the starting chord at the beginning was here. So these are just variations to give it some movement. I've got E flat for a bar, so I just kind of want some alternatives, you know. And you can explore this, you could start in any key and see if you can do some, like you could do a scale and see if you can go up the scale and keep harmonizing these drop 2s. Nice little just chromatic shift at the end of that bar. Now that on its own would sound pretty kind of something with the E flat, but I'm sliding up C minor. And E flat major and C minor have got a lot in common. So a lot of those notes interchangeable. Here, briefly interesting to note in bar 12 that that's more of a kind of G chord, but over C minor we almost get this tonic pedal So it gives you a little bit of C minor here, a little bit of tension, almost could be the G, but obviously C in the bass. In that brief moment moving between, I get a nice line to actually hear F13 sus at bar 13, which resolves in the next bar. So it's a nice tactic. If I've got a dominant chord for 2 bars, I could make possibly, depending on the melody obviously, I could sus and then kind of resolve, which is what happens here. And this nice semitone shift, so F sharp minor, 2, 5 there, to 2, 5 there. It just happens to work because the melody at this point is the A flat, and that fits the F sharp minor, 9th, 13, 3rd, and then that's just the dominant 7th of the B flat. Okay, so that kind of works there. Some tunes, you know, occasionally you can do that, and that's pretty much kind of halfway through, and jumping straight to the end. You can have fun with this, play, you might find a little pattern you love and you want to move it into different keys. And then, for example, of changing keys, we're going to look at the last couple of bars. So I've just got a nice 5 to 1. That's bar 32 too. Okay, so you could maybe change this. So if this line goes up, of course you could come down. So you just take what you want, grab these little shapes, B flat sort of altered to, and let's see if we can take that round a few keys. So I didn't write anything down, but let's have a go. So upper semitone. So you can see the shapes. It's root here. The top part kind of moves down a tone to a semitone. The middle part, once you've got it, doesn't move. And we could sketch in the roots. So in the key of F, F sharp, G. Let's keep going. We're nearly there. A flat, if you want to stretch down a little bit further. At some point, that A flat there, could maybe do that down an octave. Just about okay there, sounds nice. And then I've got to do that in the key of E, in dominant E to A. B flat. B major. Stretch down there. C. D flat. A D. And we're back to where we started. So a little thing to take around the cycle of fifths or up and down in semitones. I hope you enjoy this. This was, as I say, a really useful resource PDF when I was at college all of those years ago, and I would love to share it with you. So details of how to get that at the end. How did you get on? Hopefully you enjoyed that lesson. It's a really cool transcription to have, those drop 2 voicings. And remember, there's the MP3 you can play along and practice that way. That's a really useful tool. All free if you subscribe to the website, so you can get the details below for that. And if you're on YouTube watching this, I presume you are, then you can give that a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon for another lesson, jazzpianoclub.com. Bye-bye for now.